My family out here in the audience tonight, who hopefully they'll stand up and contradict a lot of the stuff I say, because maybe they know something that I don't know.
That's one way around.
Exactly. My grandfather moved onto the island in 1896. He opened up with my grandmother, who also was married twice. Now you have to understand this, how it works with the family that's all here tonight. My grandmother married young. She married a guy named Captain Charles Schaefer. She was married to him for a short time, and he died, passed away. And then 6 years later, she married my grandfather, Mr. Andress. So Charles Schaefer Sr. and my father are half brothers, different fathers, same mother. And that's how it works on the island. That's how we're all related through marriage. My grandfather died in 1934. So his brother Charles became one of his mentors. And then the war came along, and he went into the Coast Guards. He served at the Atlantic City unit and was on submarine patrol up and down the beach here. That's what he did during the war. When he got out of the war, he opened up his fishing business off of his mother's dock. And of course, people know it progressively got bigger and bigger. And he lost his boat, his first boat, in the 1944 hurricane. It was thrown right up over top of the bulkhead, just 2 blocks south, like down there where the Massey's house is at now, down around Tecumseh. Came ashore and got all busted up in pieces, and he started over fresh again. And he managed to get through the 50s with a smaller boat. And then in 1959, he commissioned a boat down in Florida. And he had it built. It was a 60-footer. And he bought it up here. And came in the bay in the spring of 1960. And that boat still operates today out of Fortescue. And it's called the Salt Talk. And it still works to this day. It's a beautiful boat. Guy did a few changes to the bridge and stuff, but the boat is still the exact same boat that was built down in Stewart, Florida over like 60 years ago or something. It was a well-maintained boat. My uncle always took good care of it. My parents, my grandparents opened up their boat business, renting boats out in 1912. And that business stayed there until 1977, I believe, something like that, before they sold the property, and my grandmother decided to move in with her daughter, who also, my Aunt Cassie, was born down here. They were born within a year apart of each other, her and my father. My father's mentor became his brother Charles and another guy who taught me an awful lot as a young boy, a very young boy. His family, this inlet's named after it, the Corsons. His name was Wash Corson. When I was 5 or 6 years old, that man was already 88 years old. And he built, the last boat he built for my father. He built a custom little sneak box for him. And he sold his property. He lived right on Webster in the middle of the street there. And almost between Ocean Drive and Playground. Middle house in the middle of the block. That was his house. Now it's a big place now. And he moved offshore on Route 9 in Palermo. And he lived for about another 2 years. And he married a woman named Hester. And she was from Massachusetts. And her family was originally a family that came from England in the late 1600s. Who immigrated over. Her family was pilgrims. And he married her. And those two were like peas in a pod. I mean, they knew how to do everything. I mean, Wash taught my father how to provide for your family all year long, no matter what the conditions were. I mean, he showed my dad everything. How to go out there and cut holes through ice and go eeling and clamming, oyster, minnow, hauling for everything. I mean, told him everything. shooting ducks. Man, we shoot some ducks when we were kids. Jesus. But point was, I myself really never set foot into a supermarket till I was probably about 10 or 11 years old. I mean, everything we ate came out of that damn bay out there. Or what my uncle called out in that ocean. They would just interchange things. Ducks for codfish and stuff like that. And while I was growing up learning the bay, my cousin Charles in the back there, he learned out being in that ocean. He never spent any time in the bay. He was with his father all the time, out in that ocean all the time. My cousin Charles over there, he worked on my uncle's boat for a lot of years. I don't know anybody can open up a sack of clams, a whole sack of clams in 5 minutes like that man could do. You just go out there and just bang them out. Boom, 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 boom. You know, this is the way it worked back then. You traded off things and you did things together. Now, growing up on the island, it's not like it is today, of course. It was wide open. There was half the houses that were here. You could actually go out there. Frank's sitting right there in front of me. His father and my father, they would go out there with my father's beagles, and they would rabbit hunt here from November all the way through to February, because there was just so much open ground here on the island growing up. And I just can't imagine it must have been like my father growing up here. How much open ground it must have been. And we used to have rabbits, you know, we did everything together. When Frank's family moved here, I was just born. They moved here in 1951, and that was the year I was born. They bought Oscar's place over there. So the Jankowskis have been here as long as I've been on this island. You know what I mean? And then, you know, we had a lot of kids growing up. It was different back then. You know, there's no children here now because nobody, I mean, on the outer islands now today, you can't afford to actually raise a family unless you are wealthy or somebody hands you something, because how can you come here as a young person in your late 20s or early 30s and actually think that you're going to buy property on the outer islands and raise a family? When we grew up here, there was 27 or 30 kids grow up. I sat there and I started going through it the other night. I'm saying, man, there's almost 30 kids that I grew up here on this island. Now, we all, look, there was all different ranges in children, and I'm not counting babies and stuff like that. I'm talking like, you know, kids that are in kindergarten up to kids that are like, you know, middle school and high school, you know. But the deal was back then, everybody took care of everybody. My cousin would drag me everywhere he went with my buddy Danny Heritage. I was like 11 or 12 years old. When these guys went surfing, they took me with them. You know what I mean? They'd come to the house and say, Ed, we're going to take, you know, we're taking Ed for the weekend. We're going up to Point Pleasant Beach. It's no problem. Not a problem. Now, everybody, there was a big age gap. But the people on this island, man, they were tight. And they took care of everybody on this island. Everybody had a place to do something. I mean, there was nobody ever left out of the mix here. We were a very, very tight community. And that's why I look out here now and we're all still here, God willing, you know what I mean? We're all still here and we all count each other. You know, and then, you know, as I got older, you know, like everything else, you know, you go to high school and yada yada, and then I got drafted, you know, and I came home. But when I came home, it didn't work for me, you know, when I came home for what I did. I was glad that I got home and I was in one piece, and I lasted 6 weeks. And I just told my dad, I said, Dad, I said, I don't think I can stay on the island anymore. I said, I love it. I said, I'll come here all the time, but I said, I don't think I can put down stakes here with people on top of me. I said, I need my space. And that's why I chose to move off the island when I did in '72, and I bought a big piece of ground out there offshore. I stayed in the township. You know, I didn't want to leave the township or anything, and I stayed there. And then my cousin left. He followed me. And then my Uncle Charles, he followed him. And as soon as my father's brother got off the island, they all moved off the island. But the good thing about it was like being back in Strathmere where they moved to. Because where Charles lives at, and where my Uncle Charlie lived at, and where my father lived at, they could all walk to their houses. It was all like, you know, walking from here down to the shack or something. and they all stayed on top of each other. Now, I was the only guy that moved out there and, way out, you know what I mean? But, they all remained close and everything, and it's just different now. It's tough. It really is tough for a guy like me who was born and bred here to, I won't come over unless it's absolutely necessary on the weekends anymore. And if I do, I come over at 6 in the morning, and I'll fish for a couple hours, and I'm back off the island by 9 o'clock. You know what I mean? It's just really tough. When you come up here and you got so much space and everything, and then all of a sudden it's like, man, it's just like, this is reality. This has changed so much. But I still, what's good about it is, there's still so many guys that I grew up with, like Herb sitting right here, and there's Debbie, and there's Pamela, all these people. There's a lot of them out here I know that I was born and raised with. There's Frank, Frank was like one of my mentors, you know what I mean? We all did so many things together. And it's nice to know that even though maybe we don't live on the island full time, we still come down here in the summertime, and we still have not relinquished our properties, and we still a part of the environment right here in this town, because this island means so damn much to us. People ask me, like, would you move back? And I go, yeah, I'd move back every year. 1st of November, as long as I was out by the 30th wind. I said, I love it over here in the winter time. They all look at me like, that's the worst time to be there, man. There's storms. I said, yeah, well, that's part of it, man. I said, after you've lived through the 62 storm with 80 people sitting in that damn Coast Guard station for 4 days, and then they take you out by helicopter. Once you've done that, you can do anything. Trust me. That's just the deal, So, I'm not a big summer person, I must admit. It's tough for me, but I love this damn place. It's just like, I am so proud to say I was born and raised there, like my dad, and our family being on this island before the 1900s. My family opened up a business in 1912, probably one of the, and my grandfather. I think about my grandfather. A lot of people don't realize it. Think in your head mentally, especially the older people. The people who've been here for a long time. You think about Frank's house. You think about Aunt Gert's house. You think about my grandmother's house. You think about where Jimmy Callahan's aunt lives across the street, right next door to the motel used to be there. Andy's place. There, and the place that was down the street from them, that now it's a big metropolis. They built there, but we have the right to get to the firehouse. It's an empty street there. Some there is. All those houses were all built by my grandfather and a guy named Frank Trimble. They look different from the outside. But as soon as you walk through the front door, what do? You walk in the door, you go right up the stairs, they're all built exactly the same. They're all built in a few years period. He built so many houses on this island, my grandfather. At one time, he owned everything other than Twisties all the way up to the playground. And you just sold all them pieces off. The house the hell lives in, my grandfather built that house. He built it in 1929, my father says. And he thinks it could have been 1922, but he's not sure. It's either one or the other. But he just, it's his age, But the point is, he owned that whole block, basically, and just started selling it off. And that's how my family, the other side of the family, the Strobels and Aunt Gerda, that's how they got their property through him. You know what I mean? And I was telling my cousin, it was all them damn Sutton girls that screwed everything up, right, Charles? They came down here, all 5 or 6 of them, married everybody that lived here in town. Now they're all related. But this is a great place. I hope it doesn't get any more crazier than it already is. And I just hope they don't start knocking down any more houses that they built only 20 years ago to put bigger ones up. And like they're doing other places. I guess it's up to us to put our foot down and say, look, enough is enough. We're maxed out. Come on. Are we happy where we're at right now? Will we want it to go any further than it is right now? I don't think so. I mean, half of us probably sitting there saying like, this is way out of line. You know, especially the ones who were born and raised there like me. It's like, it's gotten so out of line, it's crazy. But I wouldn't have asked for a better place to be born and raised and grow up in with all my family, my friends and everything. I mean, Jesus, it was the best place. You know, your parents didn't have to worry about turning you loose in the summertime or the wintertime or anything. You know, anything you did stupid, you did yourself. You know, I remember walking out the end of my grandmother's pier with a full set of football outfit on. You know, the helmet, the pads, and everything, and trying to get on my uncle's boat because the tide was down. I fallen in between the dock and the boat in October and sat there hanging on the dock for 2.5 hours till the tide came up so I could get on my grandmother's deck. And then my father put his foot up my ass because where the hell have you been? You missed dinner. It was 2 hours. And I said, I've been out on the pier, I almost drowned. I mean, the water was right through the, like, you know, the face thing. I said, I damn near got died over there. You know, he didn't care about that. You know what I mean? But, you know, you can do some really stupid things if you want to. You know? But,
Ed, do you mind if anybody asks some questions? Maybe.
What about the schoolhouse then? Did you attend the little?
no, my father did, and Charlene and Charles's father did. But my father only went to it for 1 year. His father went to it for the whole thing. My father got, by then they had moved everybody to Ocean City. That's where you have the police station there between, 9th and 8th Streets on Central Avenue. That was the original high school. That's where my father went to high school at. And then, of course, they built the high school up there in 1949 or 50 up there where I went to school at. And then now they got another high school across the street from that. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's where the high school was, right there. I can't think of Delphine Queen. I'm trying to think. There's not too many people that I know that actually physically went to school there. There was only a couple that I know. My Uncle Charlie went there. My father went there for 1 year. Delphine Quinn went there. I know that. And I
My
can't
dad
think
did.
of
Broke
it.
generation.
Did your dad go there?
And Aunt Bertha.
Yeah, well, Aunt Bertha, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Step up. Because I don't remember. You know, I mean, it's so long ago that I wouldn't remember all that stuff.
Can I just interject for 1 second?
I hope you will.
You know, there's a whole bunch of us in this room that grew up on this island. And we're the next generation from Eddie's dad. And Eddie and I refer to each other as brother and sister. And
Yes.
I'm an only child. But all of the people that are in this room that grew up on this island are about as much close as brothers and sisters could ever be in a million years.
I signed
And we
all her
could-
cards.
We could not
Your
see
brother.
each other for
Always.
40 years. And people who grew up on this island come back to the island and I'm still here, so everybody calls me. It's Susie Baker calls me and says, I'm going to the beach with my granddaughter. Can you maybe meet us? You know, and we're all interconnected in a family kind of a way that I don't know happens in that kind of a special way like it does here. And we're a generation removed, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
But because we're the ones that are sitting here telling stories to people who didn't grow up here. But Brian's the next generation from the Tasker clan. And all of us are interrelated in a very, very unique and special kind of way.
Without a doubt. You know, and when somebody asked me, they asked me the last time we had this conversation, it was like 10 years ago, and my father was here participating, and somebody in the audience said, Ed, would you ever consider moving back, and what house would you have to have? And I said, well, if I moved back to the island, I said, there would only be one house I'd want. I said, because I'm a car guy. I said, I want the cars to be safe. I said, I want to move in to Sarah Boardman's house. And wait a minute, it gets better. My father turns around and corrects me and says, that's not Sarah Borman's house. That's Sarah Roberts' house. The Roberts own that house. She's a Roberts. And don't you ever forget it. And he's like this alongside of me, pointing at me. I said, okay, I won't forget it. You know what I mean? Yes. Yes. And my father don't forget any of that stuff. Now, ask him tonight to do that? I don't know, but, the point is, he straightened my ass out real quick.
Hey, and wasn't your dad the fire chief for a while?
Oh,
Were you
yeah,
the
yeah.
fire chief? When was
Well, he was the one, when we grew up, there was just a little, Debbie, there was a little garage right here.
Fire chief.
A little garage, but one fire truck. My father was the one who organized a ladies' auxiliary. And like I said, back in the early 60s, there was a lot of us living here.
He was a ladies' man like his son.
He got, you know what, and I still got some of those things they made. Like, the wine glasses that went up like this, and they had pictures of Santa Claus glued to them and stuff. I mean, and they raised enough money to put a real firehouse out here. And he poured the cement out there, and he put a basketball court out there for everybody, you know what I mean? And he bought a brand new, in 1965, an American LaFrance fire truck for the fire department. He was into it, you know what I mean? He was really into it. And that guy right there followed him, right there, that guy over there. He was my father's mentor for him.
And your dad was the fire chief.
No, I was never the fire chief.
Okay.
No.
John Kingston.
All right. And
That's right. That's right. The
Well,
Kingston,
thank
they're
you.
all involved. You know what I mean? They all had a hand in putting this fireplace up. You know what I mean? Like getting it out of a little one-room garage. You know what I mean? Yeah. What else can we talk about? I don't know.
How
What
did you
else?
get lucky enough to meet Louise?
I met her, believe it or not, at at her brother's wedding. I knew her brother when he was just a kid, and I was working making surfboards, and he had a part-time job working for this guy that made all the amusement things out of fiberglass, the rides, and he would come to the plant, you know what I mean, to buy all the resins and stuff, you know what I mean? So when he gets married, right, she shows up at the wedding. And the funny thing about it is, her sister's there. I mean, I hadn't seen her in 20 years. I knew her sister when she was like 14 years old, up to like 17 before I went to surf. She used to hang out at the surf shop in SIA. So I had no clue who that woman even was, but it was like, you got bit right on the spot. That was it. I saw her. It was like, at that point, it was 18 years I had been living by myself, raising my daughter, you know what I mean? So, I thought, my mother said, pretty soon, man, ain't nobody gonna want your old ass. You're already 40. Yeah, you're probably right, Mom. So that's what took care of that. I went all those years without getting married, and then she had to walk in, right? That was the end of that. Probably the best thing ever happened to me.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. I've known you for over 50 years.
Oh yeah, at least that.
Probably more than that. And,
Probably.
We've fished a lot together and hunted together. And can you tell me your greatest fish story? Tell me something that really sticks in your mind.
All right, I'll tell you the greatest fish story. All right, and it is a good one.
Is it a fishtail or an actual?
No, actually story. When I got married again to Louise, a lot of your people here attended my wedding, and it was a wedding that was posted in the post office. I had a big flyer. Ed and Louise is getting married. We're getting married on this date, blah, blah, blah. Come to the church and bring a change of clothes, because I got the whole county park as my reception. We had horseshoe pits, we had volleyball nets. I said, bring your kids, there's a zoo there. I said, I want you to just enjoy your day, it's going to be an incredible day, right? So, the Reverend says to me, this church holds 360 people. He goes, I buried freeholders in here, he says. There's 50 people standing outside. He goes, who the hell are you? That's what he said to me. He said, Reverend, I said, sister, who the hell are you? I said, I got a lot of friends. He goes, that's pretty obvious. So, to feed everybody, in my infinite wisdom, instead of doing what most people do on bachelor parties, going out and getting drunk and everything, I said, let's go tuna fishing. So, we get my buddy Bill May and Bobby Keever and my brother Tom, Jimmy Callahan, and we all go offshore for an overnight at the Linden Call. And we just loaded that boat up. I mean, we had like 35 fish on ice and we were still catching them, you know what I mean? We just whaled the living hell out of them, you know what I mean? And we had coolers full of tuna steaks at that wedding. I mean, just take them home. I mean, there was 400 people there and we still couldn't give them away. I mean, that's how many tuna we caught. That was the best fishing story I can tell you. That we just whaled the living hell out of them.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Who cleaned all the fish?
We did. Me, Callahan, and Keever. We go sat there and cleaned all those tunas.
That's a lot of fish.
Yeah. Come on, Charles, say something. He's down.
Hey, you got the floor.
Charles!
That's my cousin there, man. He spent his whole life in the ocean with his father, my father's half brother. He's been in the ocean his whole life. Now he operates 3 boats out of Merritt Island down there in Florida at Canaveral Inlet. And he's got a brand new one being built right now as we sit here out in Johnny Yank's Boat Works. Beautiful aluminum boat, just gorgeous boat, solid aluminum. He still fishes like his grandfather did, his dad. Now he's been fishing all these years. He's only a year younger than me, so he's 65. He's been fishing his whole damn life, spent all of his time in the ocean. Born and raised in Strathmere like the rest of us.
Well, what do you say?
He ain't a talker.
To buy everybody a drink? Oh, one more question?
I just want to say, as somebody who's been connected with Strathmere only 17 years, I love hearing the stories, and I loved Strathmere when I first came, but as I heard the stories, I came to love it more. And I'm in Brian's house where his father grew up. I just want to, but the stories that you're telling brings home something that I was told when I was a real newbie to Strathmere, and that is, be careful what you say about anybody in Strathmere.